Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this recorded version of the first in a series for our Ring a Rhyme webinars, Effective Early Literacy Strategies for Library Staff. My name is Donna Throckmorton. I'm a library services consultant with the Arizona State Library, and I am excited to share some of these things with you. And hopefully, whether you're new to early literacy programming, or looking to refresh your approach, I hope you will walk away with insights and a few practical tips and ideas that you can incorporate into your library programming. Today, we're going to focus on the importance of math literacy and talk about some strategies and learning resources that will help you implement number sense, spatial awareness, pattern sorting, and then we'll have some time to share and compare. And finally, we will focus on our math literacy cards and have a moment for personal reflections. If you were a younger audience, I would not have such a long agenda. I would summarize them maybe into four distinct areas. So, first, we'd focus on the importance of math literacy. Next, we would talk about books that incorporate math. And then we'd build on that conceptual math learning with some activities. And finally, we would offer some time for personal reflection. So I want you to take a moment and think about your feelings about math. How do you feel about math? When someone tells you this is going to involve math, or when you need to implement some math skills, what kind of feelings come up? I would love for you to indicate that with an emoji. If you were on the live version, we would enter that into the chat. But just for now, go ahead and think about which emoji reaction would you use for your feelings about math. Children aren't born fearing math. Their anxiety tends to rise as they age, as they confront more challenging content, and as they are exposed to other people's negative attitudes to mathematics. We have some social stereotypes, don't we, that we often deal with, such as girls aren't good at math, or library people aren't usually math people. Have you ever heard those before? I maintain the Arizona Libraries social media page, our Facebook page, Arizona Libraries. And I came across this cute quote because I'm always looking for cute stuff to add to it. And it said, remember, librarians cannot give tax advice, medical diagnoses, legal aid, nor do simple math in our heads. And while it made me chuckle, I decided not to post it because I did not want to reinforce this negative stereotype that library people are not math people. We have learned, and researchers have learned, that children that demonstrate strong math skills at an early age, uh, it is a strong indicator and predictor of long-term success in school, not just in later math learning, but also in later reading proficiency. There is a great blog from the Association of Library Services for Children, and it's Early Numeracy in the Children's Library. And it says, modeling simple, fun math activities like sorting and measuring may encourage caregivers to try new things at home. Reading, playing, and talking not only support early reading literacy, they also offer early numeracy learning opportunities. Early numeracy refers to the development of all the mathematical reasoning that children learn during their early childhood years before formal schooling begins. Early numeracy can be conceptualized into these three main categories: number sense, shape, size, spatial awareness, pattern set, sorting, and measuring. So, as library professionals, we can help caregivers realize and learn about simple, fun things that they can do at home through modeling the different ways we read stories, the different activities we do with them when they're at the library, and as well as the materials we provide for them to take home, such as the Ring of Rhymes. I'm going to share this video about donuts, and it is set in a classroom, a preschool classroom, and this video shows how the teacher encourages the kids to explore what numbers mean and how they relate to one another. In this case, by using donuts. So as you watch this video, think about how you could apply it to a preschool or a family story time that you hold in your library. What would you say differently to encourage a parent-child interaction as opposed to the child-to-child interaction? Let me just pull this video over here so you can see it.
Okay, we're going to look at a picture. We're going to look at that picture for 1 minute. We're going to think about what we see. And today we're counting to see how many of what. Ooh, look up there. Let's look. Now we're going to turn and talk with a friend. Okay, remember when you turn and talk, you're knees to knees.
I see one white
How many do you see of
chocolates. I see donuts. Donuts. So two ones. Where? I see donuts. The one that has a little the one by the white. I see white box inside the donut. Oh, there's four white. Four white.
If I call your name, you can tell me how many do you see of what?
I got a good idea.
Oh, okay, Fabian, go ahead and start with us.
I see four whites and three chocolates.
How many do you see of what?
I see 12 donuts.
Oh, anybody else see 12 donuts? Me too?
Me too.
That's good. Oh yeah, that's a lot of donuts.
One, the two pink donuts, but that one doesn't have pink.
Oh, I like that. Do you see that, friends? 2 pink donuts. One has sprinkles. One does not. How many do you see of what?
I see two.
Just these 2?
No, I'm talking about the pink ones.
The rectangle ones?
Oh, the rectangle ones. Got it. I like the way you called those rectangles. How many rectangles do you see?
2.
2. Anybody else see that? 2 rectangles? Any me toos? Does anybody have something else they want to say about how many they see?
I see.
All right, so you kind of get the idea. So what did you think about that video and how she interacted with the children and encouraged them to think about number sense? I loved the way that she helped kids express what they were feeling, reaffirmed what they had to say, and also expanded upon it. I think in your setting, you could ask the parents to have that same type of conversation with the children. And then as a group, you could help them see how there's differences. Every child sees them differently. So numbers aren't just counted from top to bottom, they're counted by colors, they were counted by shapes, and it's a great way to interact with um, numbers in a different way. So number sense includes ordinality and subitization. Library staff can support caring grown-ups by modeling simple ways that these can be implemented into their daily lives. Because we all know that parents and caregivers are their child's first and most important teacher. So research points to these 2 specific skills, ordinality or sequencing and subitization, or in other words, the instant recognition of quantity. We want to offer opportunities for children to develop these math reasoning skills. Now, you may remember right when we did the agenda, I listed them out as ordinal numbers. The first number and the word first. You could also add in things like a hand holding up one finger or a hand holding up two fingers for a second and third and fourth. Now, subitization is when kids can look at a quantity and instantly know how many there are. We become pretty good at guessing that, especially when you're playing with dice game, die game. Dice, is it dice or die? One of the two. Anyway, so if you have one die, you're playing with it and you can instantly recognize how many numbers are on that. But younger children still need to count those dots up. So they have not fully developed subitization yet. Children quickly grasp the idea that one event leads to another. Often we create visual schedules to outline our story time. So we're really talking about sequencing when we do that. This is highly recommended for sensory story times. If you have your schedule up there, children know what to expect and it helps them feel more comfortable in a setting. If you review the sequence of events and then you follow that sequence. But you can also point out to the grown-ups that when they go home, they can talk about the child's daily routines to practice the concept of sequencing. For example, what are we going to do tonight? First, have dinner, then take a bath. After that, we read stories, and finally, we turn off the lights. Or you can say, when a family is getting ready to go run errands, the parent might say, let's go do our shopping. First, we need to go to the hardware store, then the grocery store. And once we are done with our shopping, we will go play at the playground last. So, when you're reading a book, you can demonstrate this by asking the children to describe the events of a story. So, have them use the words first, next, last, and prompt them occasionally, and they'll get used to that sequencing concept more readily. More, Fewer, Less is another excellent book to help kids develop number sense. It's a wordless book that shows pictures of animals and everyday objects in various shapes, colors, and textures. You can model how to share a wordless book because some families are just not comfortable going through a wordless book. But if you invite the children to answer your questions, help them to focus on the photos and the number of objects in each page using words more, fewer, and less. You will model that great behavior of how to interact and encourage number sense in children. Another thing that you can help parents understand, or you can do as part of your activities, is try counting windows, books, and chairs with the children. But after you count them, be sure to emphasize how many there are and of what, just like the donuts. So instead of just saying there are 12, there were 12 donuts. So here, the example is 1, 2, 3. How many books are there? 3 books. So that helps them think through the process that those numbers are connected to how many. Here's a great resource for you. I hope you'll find I've included lots of resources for you to refer to later on as you're planning your story times and other parent tips. This is from the DREAM website, DREME. I know it says familymath.stanford.edu. It's a Stanford website, and their Development Research and Early Math Education, which stands for DREAM, has some great resources. So this is a storybook guide that helps complement more, fewer, or less. So it gives you a synopsis of the books. It talks about what math skills they're learning, and it gives suggestions on encouraging that conversation to extend the learning of the book. Here's another great one of our favorites, brown bear, brown bear. So, like we already demonstrated earlier, you're talking about a sequence. And in this one, the activity is clothespins with the different characters in the book, and then they put them in order. So it helps children build that thought process of sequencing. And I included a link there if you want more information about that activity. So in this video, Ellen Stoll Walsh's Mouse Count book is used to illustrate the concept of less and more. It uses role playing and storytelling to provide younger children a jumping off point for learning about math, abstract math ideas. So let me get this video pulled up.
Once upon a time, there was a snake.
Oh, let me get to the beginning.
Using the mouse count book is just really, really fun. You are going to be mice, and what am I gonna be?
The snake.
I'm gonna be the... It's just such a wonderful, inspiring way for the kids to talk about the idea of more and less and joining and separating. They were very careful to watch out for snakes. Except when they got sleepy, right? When they got sleepy, they forgot all about snakes and they took a nap. So here comes the snake. He's very, very hungry because he had no breakfast and no lunch. This idea of more and less is really valuable to children, and they need to understand it through storytelling. Is 2 mice enough for me? No, I am I separated an area of space with a circle of tape on the rug to indicate the jar in the story. Here are 3 mice, little, warm, and tasty. I will put them into my jar. I made it not a very big space. I made it pretty small space for the children because I wanted them to be able to physically feel what it means when you're adding more to something. That when there are more people in the jar, there's less space for me. I don't have as much room. For their bodies to be able to physically feel that adding of children, it helps them to understand the idea of more. Okay, what happened to my jar now? It's getting more full. Are there more mice in the jar now?
Yes.
Yes, there are more mice. When the children are going into the jar and when they're coming out, I'm talking a lot about joining and separating because I want the children to understand the idea of operations. Rock the jar a little more, right? Rock, rock, rock. One more mice escapes from the jar. What happened to my jar? Are there less mice now?
Yeah.
There are fewer mice now. Okay, rock, rock, rock. When you add more to a set of objects, you have a larger quantity, you have more. And when you take students away or you take objects away from the jar, that's losing objects from the set. And through that, they can understand the idea of more and less. What happened as the snake put more mice in the jar? What happened to the jar? It got full, right? And what happened when the mice were escaping?
They walked.
I know, and what happened to the jar?
It was empty. It was zero.
There were 0 mice. Working with preschoolers, doing this storytelling, changing, adding, and subtracting is their first experience with these higher order mathematical concepts, of addition and subtraction and operations.
Once upon a time, there was a
All right, so that is a great example of shape, size, and spatial awareness, and implementing activities that go along with our story times that children can help develop those mathematical ideas. Researchers observed parents and children playing with blocks for 10 minutes in 3 situations. First, there was free play, where parents and child played with blocks without any guidance or instructions. Next was guided play, where they were given numbered photographs to build a structure. The third was pre-assembled play, where they were given a completed, glued together model and just let them play. Parents in the guided play situation used more spatial terms than parents in the other two conditions. Children in the guided play condition produced more spatial talk than those engaged in the free play or the pre-assembled structure play. This suggests that the play context impacts the amount of spatial vocabulary that children are exposed to and produce, which in turn can benefit their spatial skills. So this is something we can intentionally prepare for when we're setting up our story time or library programming, is building in opportunities that encourage spatial language, encourage that interaction. Another easy thing we can do or incorporate is to use and think about our body language and the gestures we use to help children grasp the meaning of spatial terms. As we spread our arms wide when describing something as big, or gestures like hiding a puppet behind our back, these play an important role in children's early numbers and math skills. Another thing that we want to encourage is children counting on their fingers or pointing to objects when counting sets. This should continue as they grow older. Finger counting helps children learn in a multisensory way, and those with good finger-based math skills are better at arithmetic and show better numerical development later on. So, what type of library programs do you offer that encourage math skills? Think about that and how you can um, intentionally create opportunities for additional math language and spatial talk. Here's another fun idea I just wanted to throw in. It's for a little bit older child, and it is based on spatial skills and spatial awareness. After reading Me on the Map, you can ask the children to draw a map with a path that leads to their favorite part in the library. And then you can share it with their friend to see if they can find their way there using the map. So this is a great entry point for discussing what maps are and how maps present information. You know, maps do that in a simple visual way. They teach about the world by showing sizes and shapes of countries, locations, and distances between different places. So, as we showcase that math is a part of our everyday life and share parent tips on how math can be used in their everyday life, we can demonstrate different ways that they can do it in the library and at home. Things like checking out books, sorting and organizing toys, playing with puzzles. And these are the skills that lead to patterns, sets, sorting, and measuring. So puzzle play is another way that kids can also play with spatial skills. So when parents use words that help build spatial thinking while working on puzzles together, this increases the benefits of puzzle play. This is likely because spatial words such as straight, flat, curved, edge, inside, outside, long, and short help children think about spatial relationships. Okay, now we're moving on to patterns, that's sorting and measuring. Here's a fun book, A Pair of Socks by Stuart J. Murphy, that you can read with your preschoolers or baby story time. And you can do some fun extension activities with this. It could be a fun flannel board story, or you could just put a whole bunch of socks on the floor and ask the kids to sort them and match them, whether they are real socks or paper socks or flannel socks, or just have them do your laundry, right? Bring your socks. Help them to notice the colors and patterns while pairing. Sorting in this way helps to develop early math skills. Another fun book is Beep Beep Vroom Vroom. And here is the resource, the storybook guide that came from the Dream website about patterns and talking about math during reading. So this gives you great tips on discussing the patterns in the story and helping to notice different types of patterns. Saroj Goding is an early literacy expert, and unfortunately, she has retired, but she still has a website called earlylit.net that has so many great resources on it. And this is one of her recommendations on how we can incorporate math and pattern skills into our story time. So it's Hooray for Hat by Brian One. And her early literacy tip for parents says, adults, when I started this book, I pointed out that there is a pattern the children can follow to help them know what comes next. So they would know when to say, hooray for hat. When we point out patterns we notice or help our children notice patterns, we are helping them develop one of the math skills, which will later make it easier for them to understand math concepts. So, selecting books, songs, rhymes, or activities that emphasize number sense, spatial awareness, patterns, and modeling these methods for parents throughout our library programs will help kids learn more about abstract math ideas. So here's a great take home that you can print out and share with your parents, your caregivers, the caring adults in your story times, and it's just a general overview of finding and talking about math in picture books. All right, so I want you to think about these 6 activities. A is baby playing peekaboo. B represents cooking together. C is weaving. D is sorting. E is a nature walk, and F are building blocks. Which of these activities promotes early math skills? The context in which children are learning math skills really does matter, not just when reading counting books, but also for other math activities. Like adults, children are more motivated to learn when an activity has a goal they can relate to. In our everyday activities and in play with young children, there are many opportunities to make math meaningful. Peekaboo teaches babies, sorry about that. Peekaboo teaches babies that even though she can't see your face, you are still there, or the concept of object permanence. According to Piaget, this makes babies become more observant and notice similarities and differences between objects. When you're cooking with young children, you can count ingredients one by one. You can count the total number of ingredients, or you can guess which pile has more. Weaving or creating patterns can help children copy your pattern or extend your pattern or create their own pattern. And D for sorting and matching objects. It is an early math skill that helps children develop one-to-one correspondence and number sense. One-to-one correspondence is understanding that the spoken number represents a real amount. A nature walk is an amazing opportunity. If you're out with the baby, you can incorporate early math skills by focusing on counting objects like leaves, rocks, or flowers, comparing size, like which leaf is bigger, identifying simple shapes like circles and flowers, and sorting items based on color or texture, all while engaging in playful exploration of the natural environment. And we've already mentioned block play and how it encourages spatial talk, but there are other important concepts and skills which they have practiced and strengthened through block play, including measurement, comparison, estimation, symmetry, and balance. Our math moment cards are exactly that. They are to just provide simple suggestions for families and caregivers to incorporate a math moment into their everyday life. A lot of these suggestions teach math skills to all ages. They would work for any age, but these also are specified for age appropriate activities. So the purple one is for babies, the toddler one is green, and the preschool one is red. So we've already talked about some of these tips about how we can incorporate math into our library programming or into our home daily activities. Um, but I wanted to point out that when you pass these along to your family, it's really great to at least highlight one or two of the tips so that they don't just stuff it in their bag and never look at it, but that they actually think about ways they can incorporate it. For example, they might be sitting at a construction zone and they are stuck in traffic. So they pull out the Ring of Rhymes with all of the different early literacy tips and they find one that they can do easily while they're sitting in the car. To assess children's early numeracy, traditionally children have been asked to count from 1 to 10 or 1 to 20, yet research shows that this performance task may indicate children's memory more than it represents their foundational understanding of quantity. The more powerful indicators of long-term success with mathematics and with other academic domains is early conceptual mathematics. We can help children see mathematics in the world around them. We can use rich mathematical language in our work with children and help parents build a growth mindset in mathematics by modeling our own use and learning. And as I mentioned, there are age appropriate practices. And so while you're thinking about the books you choose and the activities you select, think about the developmental milestones of baby toddlers and preschoolers and what would be most appropriate for that age range. So since we're not in a live setting, I just want you to take a minute to think about some of the math literacy activities you are using now. And you're welcome to email me if you have a really great math library program that you would like to share with others. And then take a few moments to write down and reflect your answers for these two questions. One thing I am already doing to support early math literacy, and one thing I'm going to try that is out of my comfort zone. So you can hit pause for a minute and just reflect upon those two questions and write your answers down. And when you're completed, come back to the recording. I pulled heavily from the top 3 websites that are listed on this resource page: Dream Family Math, Erickson Institute, Reimagining School Readiness Toolkit. 2 other great resources are Head Start and Early Head Start and the National Association for Education of Young Children. And if you have any questions about the content I shared, or you have additional needs for other resources for math content or anything related to our Ring of Rhymes, please reach out to me. I would be happy to help you. And I hope you have a fantastic day.